During the course of my red pill education and researching countless YouTube videos on MGTOW, MRAs, anti-feminism, and other related topics, I came across Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I know I had seen it before, but life has a way of having us revisit something when it actually applies in a more meaningful way, or perhaps to serve as a reminder while we ride the red pill highway. Maslow's ladder is a practical way of looking at our needs as human beings, if you're still under the influence of the blue pill. And while a cursory glance tends to make you think it all makes perfect sense, the red pill has a way of changing one's perspective. I discuss this and a bit more on this episode of the XT Files. In my red pill existence, I have become considerably more academically and intellectually active, especially now that I'm creating content. My hunger for knowledge ever increasing in order to give substance to my own creative ramblings. It makes a great deal of sense, Maslow's ladder, as the first two levels are patently obvious, especially to anyone who is mired in the day-to-day need for survival. Take a look at this chart. My beef starts with the third tier, where it insists that love and belonging are necessary to get to the next two levels. Recently, I had watched an interview between Paul Elam and Human discussing this topic and how it related, or rather did not completely fit the needs of a red-pilled man. While I give due deference to Abraham Maslow for his contribution to psychology, I must still assert that it is hobbled by a gynocentric system of control, at least in part, specifically in the middle bit. While love and belonging are supportive of our emotional health as social creatures, the inclusion of sex into the modified versions of Maslow's ladder seemed to be more than a bit much. In a previous video where I discussed how we define ourselves, I asserted that the way in which we define ourselves is so very important to being a red-pilled man, and releasing the burden of worrying about others' approval in order to move forward. Which means that inserting sex as a need is yet again another gynocentric ideal that cements the idea that one must have a sex partner as a need in order to achieve the next two levels.
Bullshit.
You really don't need sex and never did in order to grow as an individual. It is a pastime at best. If you want to seek it out or still have a partner, fine, but keep it in perspective. Sex, like heroin or other drugs, can be used to keep you anchored to an existence that insists you must have it, thus keeping you in line and restricting your movements so that you stay close to the source. Sounds like a system of control, doesn't it? Paul Elam has a great video called Chasing the Dragon, linked below, that really sheds light on the way sex can be used to manipulate. Men can do great things if we understand where females exist in our order of priority and importance. There's a very good reason why the phrase bros before hoes exists. It recognizes that our self-worth and value comes from within ourselves. We also instinctively know that our MGTOW brothers are in a similar frame of mind. By valuing ourselves first, we will see the value in other men, which we will need as our society continues to be crushed by the domino effect of third-wave feminist agenda. Our values, our self-worth, discipline, and self-respect are the tools we will use to survive what will be seen later as a titanic struggle between men and women in modern society. And contrary to what the original Maslow's ladder says, Living a life free from the control and manipulation of women has a huge upside. A good example of men who realize this truth are Buddhist monks who take a vow of celibacy. They do this as a way of detaching from the material in order to gain fulfillment in the spiritual. But that particular path isn't for everyone. As a red-pilled man, you must decide what path suits you best. And it will evolve as you make your own way down that red pill highway. The beauty of all this is that you can make course corrections when and where you feel it is necessary. Hell, you can turn around and go back. But be wary of returning to the plantation, because you're no longer the same, and while you might ape being a blue pillar again, you cannot truly unlearn what the red pill has taught you. Letting go of so-called needs means that we gain something in return. At the outset, the first thing we gain when we let go of a distraction in our lives is the time it used to occupy. Think about it. If you weren't busy scurrying about as a sycophant and servile member of a relationship, you would have probably had a lot of time to maybe do the things you had always wanted to do, perhaps learn something new, pursue a project or a business that could have actually landed you more income. This is all very critical things to think about and consider in your new red pill existence. This is the freedom that it promises. Now to set ourselves to task at filling that time with whatever we feel is the activity or activities that will get us to those higher levels. The scales of balance, yet again, have a way of reorienting us on the pathway to personal fulfillment, as well as eliminating the distractions that can consume so much of our focus and time, preventing progress. So yes, sex feels great. Yes, we need it to propagate the human species, but the temerity of saying it is a requirement towards the path of self-fulfillment and self-actualization, well, that's just ridiculous and a gynocentric lie.
Total bullshit.
It literally inserts the need for a female in one's life, which is exactly what they desperately need you to believe. Many truly great men were essentially red pill men, who either avoided living a traditionalist gynocentric life deliberately, instinctually, or perhaps by circumstance. But the results are still quite evident. So here is what I propose. A new realized MGTOW ladder with all due deference to our boy Abe Maslow. It is a foregone conclusion that we humans possess a driving need to take what is created and improve it with each iteration. This is the essence of enlightenment and the realization of dreams and goals. So here it is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, XT style, transformed into MGTOW's hierarchy of needs. The primary point here is to illustrate that our path to self-actualization is one we define as individual MGTOWs. And while Maslow's contribution allowed for a relatively logical framework for human needs to be defined, does not preclude modification or revising to a more individualized framework. Stepping outside the box or societal frameworks that is the needed flexibility that can give us the latitude to engage our red pill existence in a more meaningful way. Here's a thought. Create your own ladder, or whatever shape seems appropriate. A circle comes to mind because I find that life tends to operate in cycles or even a sine wave. The peaks and valleys of life, or reality, seem to underscore the never-ending scrimmage between order and chaos. But we must always remember this is a fundamental law in the rules that circumscribe our reality. Don't fight it, harness it. Wrapping up. I feel that the first two tiers are self-evident. But the higher you go, the more your own purpose and sense of worth are derived by your passions in life. The discipline to follow your path and passions becomes self-perpetuating and easier with time. The key ingredient is seeking challenge in our lives, continually pushing ourselves outside of the comfort zone where our intellect, street smarts, wit, and mettle can be out and put to the test. Each courageous leap into the fray is a promise that it will help you become the person you truly want to be. Thank you for watching the XT Files. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Share and subscribe to annoy old girlfriends. Click on the bell icon for notification of new videos. If you're so inclined, toss some coins into my PayPal tip jar or support me on Patreon. It is always very appreciated. Links are below. Have a great day, gents, and I'll see you on the Red Pill Highway.